G'day, Dave. How you going?
Yeah, really good, thanks.
Well, guess what? We are on the last leg of our journey through the story of the Old Testament.
Cool.
It is. Now, remember when we finished, we said that through King Solomon's son, Rehoboam, the kingdom divided. Okay?
Yep.
And what happened was that there were 10 tribes, and remember, they're not Indians, all right?
Yep.
There were 10 tribes, that was families from the Hebrew nation.
Yep.
They didn't want to have King David's family being the king, so they left that family.
Right.
And so now you've got 10 tribes up called the northern part of Israel.
Yep.
The country, the land where they live.
Yep.
All the way from Bethel, all the way up north to a place called Dan. And from here on in, that's now known in the Bible as Israel.
Right.
Okay?
Yep.
But then you have the southern part who remained loyal to King David's family.
Yep.
Their name's now known as Judah. Okay, so what are their names? The top ones, the 10 tribes on the top are called?
Dan.
No. Israel. Israel.
Hang on.
Israel, that's it.
Right.
Now, the southern 2 tribes, what were they called?
Dan.
No. They were called Judah.
Judah.
Now, Dan was a city way up on the north part of Israel, and down on the south of the northern tribes was a place called Bethel.
Right.
Okay?
Got it.
We'll come to what that means a little bit later on. But anyway, here's what happened. You have this guy named Rehoboam, who is the king, and he had a lot of his friends who were saying, you know what, you need to start getting more taxes from the people so we've got more money to celebrate you being king. And King Rehoboam, he thought, wow, that's a good idea. We could do lots of things with more money.
Yep.
But what he did was, he went and he asked the wise old men that counseled his father, King Solomon, and you know what they said? They said, your dad was far too hard and heavy with taxes. You really should cut him back. Oh, when he talked to his friends, they said, no, you can't do that. Because, well, we'll have no money to have big parties and for you to build big houses for us. And hey, we're your friends, King Rehoboam. You're the king. You call the shots. Well, you know, that's what he decided to do. Because what had happened was, there was a delegation of people from the northern, what we now know as the northern 10 tribes. They came to Rehoboam and they said, hey, listen, we will stay as your subjects provided you cut the taxes. We're paying too much taxes.
Wow.
Well, we know that they didn't. King Rehoboam didn't. So those 10 northern tribes, they said, bye-bye to you, Rehoboam. And what they did was, they selected a guy, his name was Jeroboam. Sounds familiar, doesn't it? Rehoboam, Jeroboam.
Yep.
They selected this guy, Jeroboam, and they made him king. So he was the king of the northern tribes, and Rehoboam was the king of the 2 southern tribes. The northern one was called Israel.
Yep.
And the southern one was called Judah.
Okay.
Now, the sad part of this is that Jeroboam, he began to think what will happen over time is that the people will want to go back because of their religion and their faith to Jerusalem to worship at the temple.
Yep.
So what I have to do, he said, is start a new kind of religion. Remember, God should be number one. This is how they do worship God.
Yep.
So he said, hey, do you remember when you came out of Egypt how, and when Moses was up on the mountain getting the 10 commandments, down where all the people were, they said, Moses is dead. He's been up there for 40 days. I think he's dead. Boy, we got to make our own God. So they carved out, or they molded a God to look like a calf, a golden calf. So Jeroboam said, that was the God that brought us out of Egypt. So let's make a golden calf. And he made 2 of them. He made a temple way up at the north at Dan. And that's when you were thinking about Dan, isn't it? Yep. He made a temple up there and he put a golden calf. And he said, all you people up the northern part, you just have to go up there and worship God. But of course, they were worshipping an idol, which God said, no idols. And they made another one right on the southern border at a place called Bethel. And he made one there. So the people, instead of going down to Jerusalem, didn't have to go all that journey. They could just go to Bethel and worship at the golden calf.
Sounds silly.
It was,
Yep.
because they weren't worshipping the one
Yep.
true God, the one that had brought them out of Egypt, the one that had done all these things over these hundreds of years for them. Well, what happens to the northern 10 tribes was that God sent prophets to them. And those prophets told them, you're doing the wrong thing. Amos was one, and the other one was Hosea. And he sent these 2 prophets to tell them, come on, you come back to worship the one true God. And they said, no way, we're not going to do that.
How silly.
You see, what happens now is the kingdom divides. There's north and there's south, and there's Israel and there's Judah.
Yeah.
And from here on in, thumbs down,
Yeah.
it's mostly bad kings.
Right.
Just like we've told you, mostly bad kings. They all followed, in the northern part of the country, they all followed the same religion of Jeroboam,
How silly.
who worshipped the golden calves.
Yep.
Down in the south, they still remained loyal to King David's family and Rehoboam, and what happened with them is that God also sent many prophets to them. Now here's the important part of this, Dave. God made a promise to Abraham. You remember Abraham, all the stars in the sky?
Yep.
Okay. And through Isaac, through Jacob, all the way up, or King David, who was wholehearted.
Yep.
God said that the Saviour of the whole world was going to come through that family line.
Wow.
The tribe of Judah, because that's the family that he came
Yep.
from. And so God had to keep them to fulfill his promise. But even down in the south, those people did some horrible things. And so they wandered away from God. And even though the prophets preached to them, didn't change their heart. So here's what happens. Israel, the northern tribes, God brought down the Assyrian army, and they were scattered. They took control and took the people away. And then they brought other people to live there. And then down in the south, Judah was taken into captivity in a place called Babylon, and they were there for 70 years. And then they were allowed to come back again.
Yep.
So here's what happens. We say divided kingdom,
Okay.
mostly bad kings,
Yep.
prophets speak.
Yep.
Israel scattered, Judah exiled. And after 70 years, Judah returned again.